Welcome to Thinker Into. Today what I want to do is walk you through the process of calibrating an anamorphic setup. The way I approach anamorphic lenses is I try to harvest the cheapest and most affordable anamorphic blocks instead of going for those more expensive and hyped brands. Sometimes the way I see is that there's not much difference. I've tried a bit of those colas, for example, but I didn't stay with them. They were too, very expensive for what they delivered. For me, for example, the Iscus are the best ones, and the Schneiders also, for my taste, they are the best bang for the buck. So the way I look at this and approach for anamorphics, I try to build a setup until it's I feel comfortable that it's a good setup, that it's working for me the way I like it, and then I keep it like that. So I don't build and disassemble it with frequency, and there's a good reason for that. And the reason is that anamorphic is very delicate. There are so many bits and pieces both together to make the setup work, that if you go by disassembling and reassembling and make it fizzling around with the elements inside, over time I think it becomes a hassle. It becomes too cumbersome to keep everything, calibrated and working well. So this is at least my approach. That's the way I take it, and I don't know if it's doable for everyone, if it works for everybody, but for me that's how I do it. So even though from time to time, when you're using one of those lenses, even if you're not disassembling with frequency, slight deviations in the tolerance might generate a bit of a compromise in the optical quality. Mainly what I'm talking about here is the infinite focus on the spherical element, and the second element, second problem that arises more frequently is the misalignment in the anamorphic block. Some problems could also happen in the single focus solution, but I think that those are really less frequent, and there's going to be this is an issue for a whole other discussion that we are not going to have today. But today what I want to show you guys is the process for checking the calibration of the spherical element for this lens. This is particularly needed when you're using a setup like this, when you are making use of a spherical block that you harvested from an anamorphic setup. So if you're using a lenses, that will be a much easier process, but you have to invest in the lenses to make the anamorphic setup work. So if you don't want to invest in a lens and you have the anamorphic spherical anamorphic block of the anamorphic system, you can adapt it to your camera. And we discussed it before, how to adapt one of those lights, 100 millimeter. I'm using that one to make like close-up shots of this. Let's see how it works later on. But this one, for example, just for demonstrating, is a ISCO, is the second generation ISCO gold anamorphic block. For the way, as far as I understand, there are at least two different flavors of the second generation ISCO. The dark gold, which is this one, and the pale gold, which is slight different. The gold tint is less intense. So, okay, so this is a, let's say, a 2.2 generation, 2.2 ISCO anamorphic block, paired with a third generation ISCO spherical lenses, the red version. So this is what we have. But I've noticed that the image in this system is a bit degraded. So I was wondering if there's some kind of a misalignment in this spherical block, particularly because the strategy that I use here was just with tapes. And yeah, that's not the best. So I'll double check that, and if that's not working, probably you're gonna try to develop a new approach, because it doesn't make sense to have it misalign very frequently. So to test that, I have here the EOS R camera, because this system is built using the EOS R flange. So I need a EOS R camera to test the system. So let's get into work. What I need to do right now is to disassemble this part and separate the anamorphic block from the spherical block. I just want to test if this spherical block is focusing into infinity. So usually this will be a normal lenses. It will have a focusing ring here. But as I said, this is an adaptation. We are just gluing together some pieces, and to use this spherical block, spherical lenses from a ISCO anamorphic system. And this has, in my view, some advantages. Well, first of all, you don't have to spend any money with the lenses. Second, these lenses, for me, they create a very unique character, and they are excellent optical quality, German build optical quality, top notch. You just have to find a way to put it together in a way that it stay put in the infinity focus. And probably this is a problem that I have in here, because I was a bit too aggressive when using the tape. Maybe you have to put some kind of a very small bit of epoxy glue when I find the infinity focus, so that it stay put in the infinity and doesn't move. That's what we want. So this is what we are aiming for. Another tip is to put some tape in the, I don't know if you can see it, but you put some tape in the adapter, between the adapter and the flange of the camera. That also makes for a much more sturdy fix in the camera mount. So it will reduce some jingling when using the anamorphic block, and it's proven for me at least very useful. So let's try it out. So I'm looking through the camera, and checking if the infinity focus is actually at infinity. And to do that, well, focus at something very far away, at a cloud or something like that, and check if it's and check if it's sharp. I really noticed a slight degradation in the focus when looking at the infinity with the lenses. So what I did was I removed some of the tape that was fixing it, and I had to well, tighten it down a bit. So I'll make a second record here. I don't know if it's gonna be visible to you guys. It was not visible for me. It was not visible for me here looking at just as the LCD of the camera. But definitely it was visible when punching in the infinity or the zoom when the camera was not recording. So what I'm gonna do right now is to prepare some epoxy glue and put it a very small drop there, because I don't want it to be getting becoming loose over time. So I'm going to use the epoxy directly on the tape, because there's no big deal for me. I don't want it to be fixed forever. And those tapes are really strong. The problem is that it's hard to make them bound together and do not lose any, any tolerance here. So I think I can put the epoxy directly over the tape between the two parts, and it's gonna fix. Let's try, let's see what happens. So we have waited for about 15 minutes or so. This stuff is really hard now. And I think we have a good chance that it's now also yeah, I'm gonna record for a few seconds here just to show you guys. But it's indeed really good. So what we should be doing right now, I think, is reassemble it. So it's misaligned. I'm just gonna rotate and roughly, at this point we are not that worried about perfect alignment, but roughly. I'm gonna check if the image is crispy. At the infinity, I can focus. I think it's good. So no big changes there. All right, it's not perfectly aligned. I'll just record for you to see very quickly, but this is not alignment exercise, and it's something that we have to do much more carefully. But I think the image now is much sharper than it was before. So this concludes this exercise with an excellent outcome. We have accessed the problem, which was a very tight, very slight misalignment, a bit of out of focus on the spherical block. It is very critical that the focus is precisely at the infinity. And it's very critical for my understanding on those anamorphic setups that you try to find a very sharp spherical lenses, because the anamorphic block will degrade it ever so slightly. If you are not using a very sharp spherical block, oh, things get out of control in terms of sharpness very quickly. So again, I'm a huge fan of those spherical blocks that you can find on those anamorphic, particularly the ISCO and the Schneider, something like that. Yeah, those are really good. And wherever you can, you see that it can get a bit frustrating and require a bit of work to adapt those spherical lenses to your camera. But for my experience, I will definitely suggest, because for you to buy a spherical lenses with that quality, that will cost you a lot of money. And those usually you can get it for free when you buy an anamorphic block. So just for giving a last bit of information, this one, it's recording, it's generating a very clear image at full frame. It's a 67.5 spherical lenses from ISCO. That's the third generation, the red version. Okay, thank you. Bye bye.